Hello everyone, I'm Nick Peters, the Gaming Theologian, and I affirm the virgin birth. When we're hard on retro games, what does that tell us about how we see the past? Okay, so just so everyone knows where we are playing Final Fantasy Legend 2. My apologies if I'm late tonight. I've had a problem with a little virus on my PC I'm trying to deal with, and I was just thinking about this game and realized, oh my gosh, I need to get a particular item. So we are going to go back to the final town and get things started again. I'm not going to worry about healing event because pretty much money doesn't matter at this point. But last night I saw a video on YouTube about games of the past that we were too hard on and why this is the case. And it really got me considering things. Like that, when we talk about the past and we look at the games that were around back then, we really act like those games should have measured up to our standards of today. One example there, and this was about games that were deemed as bad games, but they were just judged too harshly. One example is one we've played through on this channel, Zelda 2. I happen to love Zelda 2, and I was really surprised when I went online and found a lot of people now it wasn't the case they didn't just like it, they hated it. Super surprising to me. And then I remember seeing a lot of people talk about the original Ninja Turtles game. And the part they had the most difficulty with was the dam level 2. And again, I was surprised, because I thought, yeah, that level is annoying and it's difficult, but it was never a game stopper for me. Was it really that way for some people? Apparently the answer is yes, it was. And I'm not going to deny there are a lot of games from the past that are that hard. Yes, that are rightly called Nintendo hard. And I'm not going to pretend everything was wonderful and that the solution to all of these was just gamers needed to get good. Not a bit. Battletoads rightly has the reputation that it has. And Ghosts and Goblins, yeah, very hard. Ninja Gaiden, don't get me started on level 6-2. And we saw we just played for the lost levels recently. Yes, genuinely hard games. But sometimes I wondered, could we not be looking at those past games and judging them by how we think they should be based on games today? See, for instance, we have a lot of save states for games today. And I don't have a problem with that. Oh, which, by the way, if I forget, we could finish this game tonight. And if we do, then this talk will be cut short. I don't have a problem with that. But at the same way, I also know what it's like to beat a game when the odds are stacked against you. And there were times in the past where when you went to beat a game, that required work. You were in it for the long haul when you did that. You could often have to set aside a lengthy time if you were going to beat the game. And that's just what we did back in the day. We looked and said, okay, we're going to set aside this time and we are going to finish this game. And it's pretty easy to finish Super Mario Bros. 3 today when you can just save anywhere. But back in the past, by golly, those warp zones were essential. Because if you wanted to go straight through the game on every lever, you better be ready. And to refer to one I've mentioned before, imagine playing through Ninja Gaiden and having no save states, no passwords, nothing. That's what we did. And I am actually someone who beat Ninja Gaiden that way back in the day. And it was hard. Definitely hard. But we did it back then. And a lot of games in the past. Again, I'm not saying every game is innocent, okay? Yeah, Battletoads was ruthlessly hard. A lot of them were just trying new things. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. By the way, the SF enemy here, in the original, he was called SS. Geez, I can't imagine why they changed that. A lot of these games, they were doing something new. They were trying something out, just seeing how it would work. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But if we just insist that they had it wrong, I think we're being way too hard on the games. I know I could use hard and recover everything, but I don't really want to on these guys. And back then also, we did our work with games. We had to. The exploration in, say, the original Legend of Zelda is not a flaw. It's there by design. It was meant to be that way. Dang, why can't I get some meat? And then I started thinking past just thinking about games and went further from that point. How many times do we look at the past and think that we are superior to it? In our culture, it's pretty common that we look and we say about people in the past, well, those people didn't even know that the earth goes around the sun. Yeah? And we didn't have any reason to think it did either. People of the past were interested in science, but they only had so much data with them. And the best science at the time, as it was toying out, said the sun goes around the earth. If you're unsure of this, I recommend reading James Hannam's book, The Genesis of Science. And just look at how medieval science was done. The medievals were not opposed to doing science, nor were they just going around saying, God did it, and that was it. They were trying to find explanations for what they saw in the world around them. You might think they were bad explanations, but they really were trying, and we are way too hard on them. Or we consider our stance on moral issues. And this is a difficult one for us because we're so tempted to look and say, we are just so enlightened today. And we completely try to throw off the past. You know, I've got people who listen to this channel who are Catholics and Orthodox, and I got nothing against y'all, okay? But I know likely you wouldn't agree with the Reformation, and that's okay. But one thing I'll say about the Reformation is they weren't trying to go and say, let's forget all this stuff from the past here, and let's just remake Christianity. No, they didn't do anything. Well, that was great. They didn't do anything like that. They were trying to return to the past, actually. They were looking at the past and saying, somewhere along the way the Catholic Church got it wrong and we need to go back to the past. One of their sayings even was, to the sources. Oh, this is not a good one to get. And they wanted to go to the sources. What they were saying was, let's look and see how things were done in the past and work our way from there. So I'm trying to get focused on this here. We can say the same about the Renaissance. They were looking and saying, how do we get back to the past? They saw the Greek and Roman thinkers and said, oh, these guys were awesome! I contend it was when we got to the Enlightenment we started saying, forget the past, and wanted to move on past it. Because by golly, we don't need what those ignorant people back then believed. How has that worked out for us? Let's consider, like I was saying again, politically. We have a number of people who think socialism is the best thing ever, as if no one had ever discovered the idea before. Hey, let's just make everything free for everyone. Because they've never looked and realized, hey, people have tried that, and it just did not work out that well. There is a strong ignorance of the past, and with it comes also the idea that we are the enlightened ones who know better than everyone else, so everyone ought to listen to us. No, we don't know better than everyone else. We are strongly idealistic. We're thinking that we have the inside track on knowledge. And because we have abandoned all this religious idiocy from the past, we are going to bring about a utopia, a golden age. More likely, we are bringing forward a dystopia. We are creating a world that a lot of people don't really want to live in. I think it was on our last episode someone asked me about my thoughts on AI, and I gave them. And they're concerned about AI, and so am I. But a lot of people are just saying, hey, let's go full steam ahead. It's kind of the quandary of, yeah, we discussed very well if we can do this. We never asked, should we do this? And that is a question we should ask about some of these things that we're doing. Should we be doing what we're doing? Wait, some of these monsters just really aren't good at this point in the game. And just in case, I'm going to equip Hyper, because there could be an enemy for it. And I want a monster that's got some sort of self-healing property of sorts before we go, because once we pass this point, we are at the final boss. So yeah, it looks like we are going to finish this game tonight. By the way, the Musashi enemy has more hit points than any other common enemy in the game. I mean, you can already see they've taken a licking and they're still kicking. We, when we look at the past, we're too quick to judge it and assume that where we are at is the obvious starting point. And we look and say, aren't we great people? We got rid of slavery. Well, slavery is still alive and well in some parts of our world. And it's not because, everyone was so wicked and evil in the past they had slavery. No, they had it because people had to survive. And some people had to work for other people. That was the way life was. And when a lot of atheists look at morality, and Tom Holland, not the Spider-Man actor, the guy who wrote the book um, Dominion, has made the case very well, I think, that a lot of times when we look at our morality today, it is essentially Christian, and we don't even realize it. An odd way he even demonstrates this is by looking at even the woke movement today. That a lot of the things they want, like justice and equality, on the surface, those are good things. There's not a problem with them on its surface. It's just how we want them that can be the problem. Diversity in itself is not a bad thing. Okay? Say you want to go out to eat tonight. Aren't you glad there's a diverse number of restaurants that you can go to get something to eat? There is no, there are so many options there that the big concern you often have is how on earth can I possibly choose where to go to get something? When you go grocery shopping, you have a large number of options you can choose from in a number of places. When you walk down the cereal aisle, or the ice cream aisle, or whatever aisle it is that you really like, there's a wide array of choices. That diversity is a good thing. A lot of people who oppose the whole idea that we have going on with diversity today, it's not because diversity it's a bad thing. It's because diversity is taking the place of merit. And that is when it becomes a bad thing. We don't want diversity just for the sake of diversity. Diversity is just fine, provided that people can still do what they are hired for. If you can do the job and you're diverse, you say, hey, that's fine, we don't care. All we care about is getting the job done. Our moral stances today are we look at where we stand morally and say, well, yeah, it's kind of obvious this is the way that reality works. When really it's not that obvious. A lot of the doctrines we spend time up studying and looking at positions are ones that we spent a lot of time working on. They didn't just fall out of a vacuum. The science that we get, it had to work through numerous stages to get to where it is today. These things take time. Just like, oh, I don't know, trying to find the right kind of monster for an important battle. Yeah, that takes time too. When we look at retro games, we often compare them to where we are today and say, see, look how poor these things were. Fortunately, a lot of people seem to be rediscovering retro games today and realizing, okay, maybe the graphics aren't everything we would normally want them to be, but there's something really good here. And there is. These games have been games that have often stood the test of time. These games lasted for a reason. Super Mario Bros. Is still a classic today for a reason. Yeah, that was great. I'm not gonna worry if I get defeated this time. If a wizard uses flair, yeah, I'm doomed, but that's okay. But this also shows how tough a character that Isis is. So, yeah, I mean, look, Battletoads, genuine hard game. Definitely. And there were some games back then that are genuinely horrible games. No one is defending the example they used was Jekyll and Hyde, for instance. And people aren't really defending E.T. There's a reason that game failed and caused a great video game crash. But a lot of us have just heard something about a bad game that was said to be bad and never really looked at it ourselves to ask, is this really a bad game? Or is it just rumored to be a bad game? And a lot of people today have looked at the thought of the past and said, were these people just stupid? Or were they honestly making the best with what they had and trying to get it to work? Was the science of the day weak compared to ours? Yeah. Yeah, it was. But for where they were really doing something incredible at the time. And it's easy to look down when you're on top of a mountain and say, well, look how bad those people are down there. But if you do that, you're not treating them accurately. Because, like I said, it's easy to see how you should have got to the top of a mountain when you're on the top of it. But as long as you're going up it, it can be difficult to tell. And that's okay. Oftentimes, we should be applauding what these people were just trying to do at the time. It was many times something simply incredible that they were trying to do. Imagine doing science without what we have today. We definitely don't need a kick this late in the game. Let's use a 1/10 here. When we think about retro gaming, then, we need to ask ourselves how we're treating the past. If we're going back and enjoying those games, we should stop and say, what did they get right about gaming back then? Because if they hadn't gotten anything right, the games wouldn't have lasted to get to the point where we are today with the games that we play today. Those games were often the stepping stones used to get to good gaming today. The original level of Super Mario Bros. Is still a good template to use on how to make a good game today. If you play through that level, just go through it and imagine you're playing that level for the first time and ask yourself, what is this level teaching me about this game? Not just about it, but how to play games, period. That level has a lot to say. need to realize that. You know what else you should consider also, though? Supporting Gaming Theologian here, my channel. I'm trying to do a work to help any of you out here to give good apologetic information to people. And I could really use your support with what I do. I genuinely ask that you just seriously consider at least doing $5 a month. Okay? I'm not gonna ask you to break the bank for me, 'cause I know things are tough on a lot of us. And I know you gotta give to your church. That comes first. I get that. And I realize there are a lot of valuable charities. I'm not going to be claiming to do what they do. But I am saying, if you do benefit from this, if you do find you're learning things from seeing the gameplay taking on in the conversation, then please make a contribution to help that. And it's not a huge contribution either that I'm asking for. The price of a cup of coffee, maybe two, a month. Okay. And we've got a Discord you can join. And on that Discord, we have discussions for Christianity, apologetics, autism, video games, and men going through divorce. My personal area that I really want to encourage the most. And I've got a Substack as well, so please do consider making those donations to help me out. Okay, we'll have to remove some piece of equipment for this. Yeah, I don't really need that defense that much, as strange as it might sound, and I'm not going to take any chances here. Okay. So, it looks like we've got a lot of equipment set here. Oh, let me look and see again, just making sure. Okay, I don't think we're going to do... Does he have a laser gun equipped? Yeah, he does. So now let's go through the final battle here. That's the security system. You ready? Yes. I'll get one of them, you go get the other one. This will be our very last battle. Let's go. Honestly, it's kind of disappointing that your final battle is just against a big machine. You know, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more, but what are you gonna do? And hopefully you're seeing that because I've got a monster that can heal itself, that's going to help us out with recovery. And yeah, I think this is the only... So, Legend games are the only games I know of where you unleash nuke bombs on your enemies. Okay, now we're in phase 2 of the battle. And we're going to use the hero rod one time. This is honestly the easiest lever of this battle. The worst is yet to come. Here it comes. We are going to be using here every time. Ooh, my monster failed. That is not good. The big goal here is just to outlast. Fortunately, he doesn't seem to have any method of recovering his own hit points. There! Done! We did it! Well, what should we? I have to stay here and repair things. You go back to your world. Well, who are you really? This world we may be old and needs to be repaired once in a long while. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm waiting as magi until somebody calls me from over 1,000 years of sleep. Then, again I wait. We won't see you again, then? No. But your descendants might awaken me. Oh yes, we allow children to know about you and your magic. Village on guard sizes. Goodbye. The elevator is working now. Take it back to your world. Okay, so she's just going to say the same thing again. Okay, so now, that's the way we're supposed to go, but I'm just curious here. There's no monsters now, as you can see, so we can roam around peacefully. I'm just curious what would happen if we tried to go back the way we came in. Because this is what gamers do. Huh, okay. Guess they settled that. So let's not be too hard, ultimately, Venbo, on retro games. Some of them do need to be marked off as huge mistakes that we should never go that way again. But some of them are stepping stones, and good games we can enjoy still today. Jane's voice told me to stay here and wait for you. I didn't know that Magi was such thing. I feel like I've seen more than everybody else. Your world isn't that small. I have to go and see it all. Uh-uh. Before that, Dad. Oh, yes, I know. Let's go home. This is the best run I've ever had of this game, too. And I think it's just because I had you guys watching me, so I made sure I didn't run from anything. Looks like Venus's walls were destroyed to her city. And Uematsu, a legend in music. 1990 and 91. Dad, what is it? I have to leave now. Again? Where is it this time, Dad? It's the Lost Ark. Yeah, I can't imagine what that's a reference to. Wait a minute. I'm tired of staying home and worrying. Take me with you. Dear. Great. Let's go. And they all go out through the window. Jeez. A guy with a hat who's used a whipper in the game looking for the Lost Ark. I can't imagine what that's about. Well, folks, thanks for joining me. Now, I've got the next short game planned out. And I got the next long game I've got a few games planned out here. I think the next lone game I got could really surprise some of you. I bought it on the Switch recently, even though I've played it on the PS4. But on the Switch, it was on sale too, and I wanted it for this channel. No, I'm not going to tell you where it is yet. You have to wait. But we're going to go for another short game first. I've already got that planned. It's not going to be Super Mario Bros. 3 because we just went through the lost levels recently. I've got someone who said they want to see me go through Mario 3. We will do that sometime very soon. Okay? But now, please do consider contributing to the gaming theologian. After all, I do it from the virgin birth. And I hope you've enjoyed this walk through Final Fantasy Legend 2. And remember, whatever you do, do it to the glory of God, even your gaming.